Hi, for today's YouTube video, I'm going to discuss about the file processing job, which was written in Java programming language. So I want to explain how we can process a huge volumes of data, file, CSV file basically. CSV files are generally comma separated files. Why do we have a CSV file? Because you take banking applications or banking systems or any other system, they want to save data in file and they want to process data, they prefer to use CSV file, because CSV file, it is just a comma separated. It does not have any structure. Each and every record and each and every field is comma separated, because as the volume of data is increasing in a file, it would be very difficult to open that file. It would be very difficult to manage that file. For example, you take 10 million records are there and you want to save 10 million records in Excel file. You try to open that, you try to process, it would be very difficult. You could not handle the file that much easy, just like a CSV file. The text file would be more better, but the text file, the problem with the text file, right, you cannot convert the text file into Excel file. But the CSV file, you can convert the CSV file into Excel. You can actually format it. So that is why the backend system, they prefer to store data in the form of CSV files. And you see here, the first step, we need to download the file from the remote server. So you take any batch processing system or you take any file processing systems, they store the file in some third-party server. Why do they store the file in third-party server? For example, you take there are two parties. The client is banking client and you are working for a banking client. Now every day the customer data or some banking transaction related data will be generated. Millions of data, millions of records will be generated for each and every customer, right? And they store that data in the form of CSV and they'll upload that data. So basically the mainframe systems which are inside in background, they actually do the math and calculation. After that they'll store customer data, transaction data in a CSV file, and they'll upload this CSV file to some third-party server. They'll upload it, okay? And it's not that easy to manage that file, because that file will have millions of records. You cannot even open that file using your mouse. If you try to open that file, it will not open. Your system will go into hang state until and unless the system is having very high powerful CPU cores and all. So that is why in order to process this file, they'll just upload this file to some third-party server, and you need to download that file. And you are a other development team. So let's say you are a client person, you are a IT team, and you want to process that file. So the bank, the client, they will give you the access for the third-party server on which they uploaded the file, so that you can download that file. So this is the background of the for file upload and download. How you can, who will upload and who are the users that are going to upload and who are the users that are going to download and process it. We need to download and process it. You see, we need to connect to third-party server using SFTP, secure file transfer protocol. We generally use for port 22, and we need a user ID and password. And you see, after connecting to the server, we should know where exactly the file is located. The file is located under incoming folder, okay? And after that we need to have input folder. After downloading the file, we need to place or copy the file into input folder. And output folder is, once we process the file, and the file will be moved to output folder. That indicates that particular file has been already processed. Error file is in case if any files are failed while processing, those files will be moved to error file folder, another same output folder, but the file name will be error_records.txt. You see, we are just storing error records in txt because we want to see the data. We have to open that file and we want to see the data. That is why we are actually saving the file using the extension .txt. Okay, as I told you, so it would be very easy to handle and manipulate text file comparing CSV, and CSV is better than Excel, is lighter than Excel. That is why systems, they will prefer the CSV. Okay, now so we have written a main method, public static void main method, string args, we are taking arguments. So we have written two methods here. You see, download file from SFTP, process large file. There are two methods. So, and we had exception, catching the exception in case if any exception error is arised in these functions. So we will capture the exception and we will process it. Okay, now you see the download file from SFTP. Look at the code, how it was implemented, you see here. So we are going to create a object for JSCH. It is a Java library. Basically, it is used to connect to remote servers using SFTP protocol. So we need to have this JSCH library. It is a Java library. We created an object for it, and then we need to create a session from the JSCH. You see, we are going to provide user host details of port. So that way it will connect to the remote server and then it will establish a session. We need to set the password also. You can see here there is a configuration, stick to host key checking, no. In general, in production we need to enable this, and there are keys mapping scenarios in production Linux server. We need to map the keys for example, so that way the keys will be validated automatically without prompting for any credentials. User does not need to. They don't need to enter any details on a prompt because on fly the keys will be mapped. Authentication will be checked. So that is why we need to generally map the keys, but here we are actually making it as a no. You see, stick to host key checking, we are keeping it as a no. Okay, and after that we need to open channel through the session of SFTP. We are opening a channel for SFTP and then connect to that channel, and we are already we are creating object for SFTP, channel SFTP, and now we can able to download the file because we already connected to the third-party server using SFTP. We can download the file directly. How do you download the file? It is very simple. You see, we are going to navigate to input folder, right? We have to navigate to input folder because we have to download the incoming file to the input folder, right? So that is why we have to navigate to the input folder first, and after that what we are doing, you see, sftp.get remote file and local file. So the file will get downloaded to remote server. I'm sorry, it will be downloaded to input folder. Okay, it will be downloaded to input folder. So the input folder, see, where is this input folder? Okay, you can see we need to remote file and local file. So what is the local file name? Customer.csv. You see, we are copying the input folder to the local file, and the the local file will be placed under input folder. So So you're downloading the file from SFTP server to your local server. You're getting my point, right? So after that you can disconnect the SFTP. You can disconnect the session. So the whole operation here, what we are doing here, we are connecting to third-party server using SFTP. We created a channel and we connected to the channel, and then we are actually copying the remote file. You see sftp.getoff remote file comma local file. You see it is very straightforward. You just need to call the get method there, and it will download the file from the remote location to input folder location. And after that you can disconnect SFTP session also. Okay, it is very straightforward. And after that you see here what we have to do. We have to now we have to process the large file. You see the first method is completed, next method process the large file. What we are doing here, so we are going to navigate output folder, and we are going to create a writer object, buffer writer object for output file, and we are also creating, you see, error file. And now you see we are using a try with resources option here, and we are using streams. So you can see Java files dot lines of path dot get off local file. So whenever there is a huge file, the data is very huge and millions of records are there in the file, and you want to process that file line by line, you better to use files dot lines statement rather than creating a buffer reader and into stream. You don't need to do that. You can directly use like this. It will be very faster, and we are using a Java, you can see. And after that, first thing is we got a lines stream of lines, and the first thing we need to skip the header. You take any CSV file, the first line is the header. You need to exclude the header details. You don't need to include them, otherwise job will fail. We don't require the headers. Basically we need only data, number of the lines. So we are skipping the header, and after that what we are doing, you see here, convert the line into object. Why are we doing it? Because we need to apply some transformation logics here, because we need an object. So go to there, go here, go to the convert to record option. So here what we are doing, after getting the line as a parameter, we are splitting that line and assigning to a data array, and these array details we are setting to employee object. We created an employee object, and we are setting a ID, employee name, salary, department, and we are returning the object. So now the object is written here. So that is why the transformation logic you can see in filter, record arrow. So you can see here Java functional programming. If record equal to null, return false. If record is empty, then you can see we are actually telling it is a invalid record. Okay, so we are writing this invalid exception details to error file, because the record is invalid, it is not proper, it is empty. Okay, or if it throws any exception also, we can have some exception hand block, and there also we can write the exception details whenever the record processing fail. So after that map method, you see what do we need to do? We need to apply a transformation for each and every field inside the record. You see, for employee name we want to convert that to uppercase, so we are calling record.getName.to uppercase, and salary we need to multiply that 1.10. We are multiplying that, and department details are coming with some white spaces, empty space, white spaces appended, so we need to trim the spaces, so we are trimming the spaces there. Okay, and after that convert back to CSV. So now we applied the transformation logic. We want to convert the object to again line, string line, because we want to write that process that line to another CSV file. So that is why we have written another two CSV method, and two CSV method, what we are doing, we are actually taking employee object, just framing it as a string and returning as a string. You can see here the return type of that method is a string. So again we will get the data in the form of string, and it will be written to the output file. Writer is object of object for output file. You can see here we initialized it here. We declared for private static final string output file equal to output / customer underscore process dot CSV file. It is output file, and we created a writer object. You can see where is what is so you can see here writer object, output folder, output file, buffered writer equal to files dot new buffered writer of house dot get output file. So it will write that file to output folder, so with the name customer underscore process dot CSV. Okay, you can see here we need to have a model as usual, and we need to have a setters and getters. This is a plain Java. We have not used any Spring Boot or anything. This is a straightforward Java application, core Java application. Sometimes you don't need to write a framework based application. You can simply use a core native Java application to process some records. Some millions of records are there, and you want to process them. You can write a simple Java program, and you can just simple Java batch job. The thing is, you need to follow these scenarios. So whenever some issues occur when you are processing a records, right, you need to log those records into error file, and after that you can actually validate the error details and re-trigger the job. You can do that. And exception handling, have a proper exception handling. Wherever you are processing a record, you need to have a catch blocks. As soon as the exception arises, you need to write the error details, exception details to the file. So these things are very important when you are processing. You can use the framework Spring Batch and Spring Boot if you want to process terabytes of data. There are huge volumes of data you want to process it, then you can use Spring Batch as well. But for simple processing, this would be. Thank you for listening.